walking through this life of mine. Well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how to lose and how to choose. Walking through this life of mine, well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how.
Well, hello, this is Linda Carver now, and welcome to another edition of Walking Through Life. Today I'm interviewing 3 of the candidates for Hartford Select Board today. So first, let's start with Simon, and I think you're going to you guys are going to introduce each I can't talk right. You guys are going to introduce each other.
I guess.
So I would start with your name first, because I know it's Simon Dennis.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
My name is Simon Dennis, and rather than introducing my co-running mates here, I'll just introduce myself. I live in White River Junction, Vermont, just behind the on Latham Works Lane, just parallel to South Main Street, in between South Main Street and the river. And I am running for the 3-year seat for the Select Board.
Bethany?
I'm Bethany Fleischman. I grew up in West Hartford, and I live in Hartford Village now, and I'm running for one of the 2-year seats.
I'm FX Flynn. I live over in Quechee, and I am running for a 2-year seat as well. There are 2 2-year seats available. Voters will find 5 names on the ballot, and they can vote for 2. So we hope you'll vote for myself and Bethany.
Okay, well, you know how I'd like to start this is whenever I do a show, I like to think of it as looking for everybody to share their experiences. So maybe if you could, each one of you could share a little bit about your experience of how things that you've done that may let people know why you would be good to be a selectman. So we'll start with you, Simon, and go on down.
Sure. So
Just a minute, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I had to throw that in there.
The reason I moved to White River Junction about in 2001, I moved to White River Junction, and because we were finding a building within which to put the cover home repair program in. At that time, the Catamount Brewery had just gone out of business and was sitting as an empty building for 2 years. So that was just working in the community, working with that nonprofit organization was my introduction to the town. I stayed there at Cover for the following 9 years as the program developed, and finally, for my own feeling, the program was just so big at that time I couldn't keep track of it all. Maybe my identity was too much caught up with it, and it was clear to me at that point, okay, it will be better if we could bring in somebody else to run the organization. So I told the board of directors, you need to find a new director, and they did so. After that, I was working with nonprofit directors around building organizational culture and running meetings which bring out the best conversations and the best input from their staff and boards of directors and that type of thing. It was a project working with 9 Upper Valley nonprofit organizations. So, and through that, little by little, I've been getting more and more with organizing in the town of White River Junction around sustainability and initiatives which increase the town's local resilience to potential sort of economic and environmental threats of the future. Two projects in particular which stand out for me are we worked on a project called the Raspberry Revolution, in which we were planting raspberry bushes all over town. We recruited 50 volunteers and got donated about 350 raspberry bushes and blueberry bushes and planted them in select locations. So that was sort of a little initiative just to see what it feels like to be involved with community vitalization and community identity. We had a big celebration. It was a nice time. The other project that I've been working on that actually we came up against a little bit of a roadblock, and it taught me a little bit about the way in which the municipal building is collaborating with the town, was working on a path project to link up the Ratcliffe Park with Veterans Park. So, and it was very interesting to see the way in which there was interest on the part of the town. There was interest on the interest on the part of a group of very active citizens, but somehow the linkage couldn't quite be made for one reason or another, and it got put on the back burner. But that, to me, is a real priority to
make sure that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, to give the downtown area a linkage to the riverfront, make use of this incredibly beautiful resource that it has.
Attract more people. Yeah.
Attract more people, give people coming into town a chance to go for a
Yeah,
walk.
I was going to say that little Veterans Park is one of mine and my husband's favorite place to go in the summertime and just sit on one of those benches, as we take our walk or something.
Yeah.
So that's inspiring. I love to
Yeah,
hear
well,
that.
it's still in the works.
Yep.
We haven't completed that by any means, but it was an opportunity for me to learn a little bit about the the way in which the town is relating with projects and civic engagement.
Well, it certainly sounds like you got some experience there.
There's been a little bit over the years. Thank you, Linda. Sure.
Right. Okay, Bethany, you want to share a little bit of your experience?
Yeah. Well, I've always been interested in politics and government. So I remember being like a really little kid listening to the news and asking my parents, like, "Oh, what's going on?" So I've always been paying attention and trying to be involved. And I was involved in student government when I was in college. And I also served a 3-year term on the board of directors of the Upper Valley Food Co-op, just down the road.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. It was really inspiring and interesting to be learning about this, running a business, but in a completely different model than most businesses are run, a cooperative model. I also, after college, worked at Dartmouth Medical School for a research program. It was investigating the health effects of toxic metals, and I was doing legislative and policy research about childhood lead poisoning. And so I sat on a task force for the state of New Hampshire and helped write the legislation for a bill that was subsequently passed, maybe a year later or something, to help prevent childhood lead poisoning. And then we did a similar thing in Vermont also. So I have a lot of experience actually just figuring out how the ideas that people identify as problems, then turning that into policy, maybe, because things don't always get passed, or then also, looking at how things get compromised along the way and then how they're implemented. So I have a little bit of experience doing that.
So that's something of interest to you, is to work on some of the policies in town.
Right, and I mean it's very interesting to me particularly, but also, I also care a lot about this town, so I feel really invested in it as well. So
yeah, this is a great town.
It is.
Yeah, I've lived here for I think 14 years now, 15, things like that. So FX, why don't you tell us a little bit of your experience?
Sure. Well, actually, my wife and I have also been here for 15 years now, and we really love living here. We live over in Queechee, and my work for the past 25 years has been in the IT world, doing consulting work. And
What's IT?
Excuse me, information technology.
I was going to say.
I'm a computer guy. How's that?
All right.
So my interest in the select board in the town of Hartford and running for that really began to develop about a year and a half ago, when I realized that there was a select board election coming up that was going to have several strong incumbents running. And there was a topic that I felt was not really getting enough attention in the dialogue in the town, and that was the question of what can we do regionally. I think Hartford is ideally positioned to be more of a regional leader. If we look at the example of how our police and fire dispatch system is now actually being used by 12 other towns, those other towns are paying much less than they would ordinarily, but Hartford is making a profit selling those services. And so Hartford is actually in an ideal position to take advantage of that trend. And I wanted to talk about that. So I ran last year, and lo and behold, I came within 80 votes of winning against a strong incumbent. And that really gave me a sense that gosh, people, heard what I was saying and gave me a vote of confidence. So I decided that since I had raised my hand and said that I was willing to serve on the select board, that I would go ahead and attend the select board meetings this year, and I would see if I could find something to do in town. And as it developed, I wound up becoming chair of the Town and School Meeting Committee, which was mandated by the charter that went in place in 2010, but which had not become operational yet because volunteers had not been found to serve. Mm-hmm. So we got that committee up and running, and I think that people will recognize the signs that are out there saying that their town meeting is March 6th, yeah. And the postcards that came in the mail in the last couple of weeks. Okay, and some of the posters around town with the dates. That's all the work of the Town and School Meeting Committee, which was really dedicated to seeing if it could, by making sure that people really knew when things were happening, help improve participation. We only had about 1,000 voters who voted last year, and we have 6,600 names on the checklist. Now, it's probably true that there are really only about 5,000 voters in town, but even so, 1,000 voters is a little bit low. And I think that there are many ways that we can increase participation at a minimum in terms of the voting, but more widely as well. I think that there are a lot of really interesting issues and questions that need to be fleshed out and addressed, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity to get dialogue going on in town.
Absolutely, and maybe not everybody can get to the town meetings or whatever, but by doing something like this, or even like a phone conference or something where people can participate, I think you're going to find a lot more people participating in voting and going to the select board meetings, which I've always thought was very important to be able to do that. So now I'd like to focus a little bit on your strengths, each one of your strengths. What is it that you believe your strength is that you could bring to the select boards? We want to go that way, or do we want to start there and go this way for a change? We could start with ethics. Go ahead.
Well,
you already. That's right. Let's start with Bethany.
Well, I think a strength is that I grew up and have lived most of my life in this town, so I know a lot of people, and I have been involved in all kinds of things that have happened in this town, from when I was a kid up until now. So I feel like I have a good sense of the different villages and what happens in each and what people want and kind of the flavor of the town and also how it's changed over the years. I also, I'm young and I have lots of energy and I'm really excited to be involved. Again, because I just feel very strongly that this is a special place, and so I think that's important.
So is that what helped you decide to run, or?
Yeah, I think I was, again, as I said, I've always been interested in this kind of thing. Like, I think I could have been convinced another time probably to do this as well, but I was definitely thinking more about getting involved after Hurricane Irene, because West Hartford, the village I grew up in, was pretty badly devastated, and there was, just talking to all the people when I was down there helping out, everyone is has different opinions about what to do, and I just
that's
was
something
really
on the ballot too, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bond about the library, but it was just clear to me that there was a lot of decisions that were going to have to be made, and it made me just start wondering who was making these decisions, and could I help? So that was one thing.
Oh, what a great way to look at it, as you wanted to help and wanted to help the town. That's a big strength, I think. Really finding that you want to be there and really be a part of this. So cahoots. If I had a tamarine.
I guess just maybe partly from the legislative stuff I've done before, I feel like I'm a good researcher. I'm pretty cautious and don't make decisions on the fly, and I definitely want to. Oh, okay.
Just the opposite.
I like to know all sides of things before I make a decision, and I'm really curious, and I think that that's important too, because I'm not going to just let things go. I'm going to want to know the details before get involved in something or make a decision on something.
Yeah, so if there's something came up that the select board need to,
Right.
to think about,
I'll
you'd be a good
I'll
person
be home
to...
researching.
Yeah, there you go. Well, good. So, okay, so it's between the two guys. Which one of you want to go next to talk about your strengths? Don't tell me you can dance.
Is that part of the what I got into when I came onto your show here? I have to do a
yeah.
song and dance routine.
Yeah, well, you have to at least dance, because I always dance. So if you can't sing, you got to
We can dance together, then I'll go up for that. Or sing together. But
Yeah, I can't sing, but I can dance.
Okay.
So I can definitely... so you brought something very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if Jerry, do you think you can get a picture of this? You want to explain that to us? Can you see it, Jerry? Okay, well, Okay, so it's a little-
I'll tell you what it is. Okay, this was a concept that came out of sort of just a day we were standing around. It's called the Hartford Select Board Fun Meter. Okay, and it has on it a movable indicator which says if the is low, medium, or high for the fun meter. Now, why is that important? You know, how much fun we're having in the select board, because it's a key factor for how much the people in the town feel like they want to be involved. Obviously, there is either the perception, or I might dare to say the reality, that at the moment the Hartford Select Board meetings are not as much fun as they might be, because there's about like 3 non-select board members. Sometimes even the select board themselves are not making an appearance. So we know that it's not like up on the top of everyone's thing, like, oh, I want to go to a select board meeting. So, you know, that
we
needs
could get Bethany
that
to
needs
make
to
cakes to
change.
come.
Well, whatever it takes to make people feel like whatever is happening on the select
Is
board is
interesting.
something that relates with me,
Yeah.
speaks to me, something that I care about. And if I go, I'm not going to suffer. It's not going to take a year off my life.
So what's some of your ideas that they can do for fun, or to bring to the select board meetings or whatever? What's some of your ideas?
Linda, I think the main thing that people really get engaged in is when they feel like they're working together in a group
There you go.
towards a cause that they care about.
That's right.
So the whole question about what the town can do to build a sense of kind of town spirit around we together are working on this project together has everything to do with the vitality and the extent to which the town can move forward.
Okay, you're speaking kind of like Glory Days of the Railroad, or somebody was telling me a couple of years ago they had Sweep the Streets or something, where everybody came out and did that. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that kind
you know,
of
things
event
like
that's-
that, or
I mean,
yeah.
these types of things are happening to some
Yeah,
extent,
oh yeah,
but
yeah.
but
Big
anyway,
things
they're-
on Easter, and yeah.
They're important.
Yes.
And our select board, our municipal building, they need to be engaged in these kinds of events.
The select board, yeah, for sure.
But I guess where I was headed with that kind of discussion was, you know, the job that we have to do now as a community is kind of a tricky job, because things are changing in our world right now. So figuring out how to ensure that our community is as you know, can continue to thrive as we move forward is going to take a lot of creative thinking, and it's going to take a lot of involvement.
I can be
Okay.
pretty creative.
I have that impression, sure.
Do you like my shirt here? I mean, I wore that on purpose.
Okay,
I'm
just,
you guys thrilled.
just to return back to this button for a second here, let me just. So the idea with this button here is that if you elect just one of us,
Yeah.
you know, that's fun, but it's not as much fun as it might be.
Yeah.
But if you elect 2 of us, that is to say FX and Bethany, then that's starting to heat up a little more. And then, you know, we've developed a synergy. We know we can work together. We have a strong sense of you know, common cause. We know we can help bring some positive things to the town and the select board. If you elect all 3 of us, then the meter goes all the way up into the red zone.
Ooh, then you're really having fun. Party time!
There's potential to really have things start to snap a little bit. So these meters here are in high demand, and people generally, when they are presented, people are getting a little bit of a laugh out of it. And to some extent, it represents the fact that Darnell, we have to have a good time.
Right. I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, when I was young, they used to have square dancing in the community. I think we should bring back the square dancing, don't you?
Yeah.
Or the auctions.
I
The auctions.
believe
Yeah.
that. I think there is some square
Well, no, I
dancing
mean
that's
downtown. Yeah,
happening, around.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why we can't, have spaces
Yeah.
where things like that
Tupelo.
would be possible.
Absolutely. Tupelo's really.
American Legion.
Yeah.
The American Legion.
You could have a big line dance in the American
Yeah,
Legion
that'd
be
Hall,
fun.
right?
Yeah. And you could raise money to do more stuff. And
The good thing about square dancing is it's a situation where all of a sudden people come into the street and all of a sudden they're putting their
Yeah.
arms around one another who they don't even know each other and your arms
Yeah.
are wrapped. It's community building, isn't it?
exactly.
It's nice
Not
for
only
people to
that,
get in
that
contact
you
with one
can't
another.
get any closer to your community without touch. I mean, I believe anyway that is just so important. I mean, if you know somebody, to be able to go up and shake their hand or just say, hey, nice job or whatever. People don't do that enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would love to see something like that. Well, we talked about experiences and strengths.
So
and
I have a question regarding strengths. Did we get around? We talked about Bethany's strengths, but we haven't.
Oh, you're right.
I just
Do
wanna
you
keep
feel
us on
like
track
do you
a little
feel
bit.
like I forgot you?
No, not at all.
I just
because
automatically.
I
already
ran off
knew.
the mouth before.
Yeah, but I
so
already knew how strong you. I mean, I could see it. You don't have white hair for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I cover mine.
Tell me
so.
about it. I think it's all genetics. I started going gray when I was 24, and my
Yeah,
grandfathers and
yeah.
uncles were gray early too, so it's never bothered me. But what I think I bring to the table is I have a special talent for assimilating a lot of information and being able to turn around and make sense of it and explain it. And some people feel some people have said to me, "You missed your calling. You should have been a professor, or you should have been a teacher." But in many ways, that's what my work has been about for many years. I was introducing computers into businesses and helping the management and the staff come to grips with the information age. And so I exercised that quite a bit. And as time went on, my work became more, we have a difficult problem that we can't quite figure out. And we believe that you will be able to do it. And I've had success over time in puzzling out some fairly complex situations and then bringing an appropriate business solution. So really, my computer consulting work is not so much the programming or the architecture of a database, but rather in understanding how the pieces fit together, understanding what the needs of the business are, and devising a solution or a fix or a change. And many times I've told people it's not a technological fix that you need, it's an organizational fix that you need. And then that in turn ties back to my education. I actually come out of the Cornell Labor Relations College, where the emphasis was on understanding organizational behavior, economics, law, history. It was a terrific degree, and it was terrific if you wanted to go on and be a lawyer. But somehow or other, I got sucked into the publishing business. I had helped start a little bookstore in Ithaca, and that had me tied in with very early forms of alternative community. Today, we call it the creative economy. So here's another one of the
I was going to
strengths.
say, would you elaborate about that?
Yeah, and the creative economy scene that is developing in White River Junction, I can really connect with that because back in the mid to late 1970s, I was part of bringing that to Ithaca when I was in my late 20s. And so I see what's going on here now, and I really want to find ways to nurture it. And I really would like the folks who are involved with it to feel like they had a real connection into town government. So it's pretty obvious that Simon has a connection to that. It's pretty obvious that Bethany with her youth has a connection to that.
Yeah.
But I also have it out of my own
Yeah.
personal history, which is kind of a strength. And by the same token, I can certainly relate to the much larger population of professionals who are here in town now, living in Wilder, working at Dartmouth Hitchcock, working at Dartmouth College. And then coming from Queechee, I have a good understanding of what's going on there. And because I'm a permanent resident of Queechee and have been there for 15 years, and because my wife was, for a long time, one of the 2 librarians at the Queechee Library, we've developed quite a number of friendships with people who were in Queechee long before Queechee Lakes. So I feel like one of the strengths that I bring is that I actually have ties to very distinct and different aspects of the town of Hartford. And I really do believe that I can find ways to lure all those different pieces, to come together, to, thrash out some of the issues that we face. Because I firmly believe that if we can get consensus around some things, we can really move forward, and people in town can really feel good about what the town is doing.
Well, and absolutely, and I think by doing some of this stuff too, is that more people are going to be wanting to and willing to get involved in, what we would like to see here at Hartford. Don't you agree?
That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've inspired me to think about that too.
And there seems to be a movement in that direction. I don't know. There was probably 200 people at the most recent meeting, the candidates' night that FX was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
And the energy in the room was really, it was like a new feeling in Hartford. There was sort of a sense of, oh my gosh, we're coming together now. And of course, coming together is a really key theme for the town of Hartford, because we have our 5 disparate communities. It's a fairly diverse community.
Yeah.
And I guess I would also say that coming together is a really important theme with regards to bridging the divide between the municipal building and the people, in terms of the feeling that we're all on the same team, kind of working together.
Yeah, because I don't think everybody feels that, So I think that's a good idea. Absolutely. And I just say personally myself, growing up in another community, Plymouth, New Hampshire, not being able to learn to read or write was something that I struggled with. Being bullied was something I struggled with. So I automatically just internalized that by doing what I'm doing now with the CATV, and actually using my voice to talk about my mental illness, my husband's mental illness, and just really projecting that people are coming forward to use their voices to talk about their life struggles. And that's what the purpose of Walking Through Life is. But isn't this great that we get to open it up for more people to be able to use their voices and come forward and vote for the select board and get to know each one of you more. So I'm really impressed, and I really appreciate that a lot. And I really, really now want to talk about what each one of your hopes is to be able to bring to the select board, or not just specifically what you want to see done in the town, but what are your hopes for the future? What is the hopes for this year, particularly? I know they talked quite a bit about the Queechee Bridge, and about the school and the fire department, the police department, and things like that. See if you could talk a little bit about the hopes, what you would like to see changed, or the hope that you would like to bring.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start off with the latter of those kind of questions, and personally, I'm very focused on group process, and I'm focused on forming groups that are able to work together well, without a lot of tension and without a lot of strife and contention. And because I think that kind of space is really necessary for us to be able to come up with the kinds of solutions that we need to think of. So I think that's one of the things that I'm really hoping to be able to bring to the select board. And I'll give you a little bit of an example. Right now, the 4 of us are a group. Yeah. and we're in the business of trying to create entertaining television and informative television for your viewing audience. And in order for us to do that, there's some degree to which we have to be able to feel comfortable with one another and begin to just enjoy a sense of being in this group, being together. And we're watching as the process of this program goes on, a kind of a settling down, and we're starting to relax, and we're starting to be able to say exactly what we mean, and this kind of thing, which makes it a lot more enjoyable for the audience, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's something that we're watching, we're feeling as it happens. Now, that same process is something that pertains to the Select Board's ability to really function at a very high level. So that's one of my hopes for the Select Board, is that kind of synergy and that kind of creative energy can come into that environment. Of course, like from a more technical side, we have to make decisions about the next police chief.
Yeah.
We have to make decisions about what to do with the municipal building and how to execute those repairs. We have to make decisions about how to relate with the destruction left over by Hurricane Irene. All of those issues and many more are things that are on the horizon for the Select Board. I'm not sure if that's the kind of technical answer you're looking for.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah, and I think you talked about each one, and I think that so people that are watching can also see that you're aware of some of the drastic needs that the Select Board is facing. Yeah. So, and where you're going to go with it. Well, not particularly what you're going to do about each one of those, but you're aware of it and you're ready for whatever comes up with that.
I think in general there is a hope that with these issues, forum can be created for citizens to come together and voice their opinion.
Absolutely.
And know that they're heard and
Yes.
a part of the process, a part of the decision-making process. That has been done to a very good extent with the municipal building. The final solution hasn't been arrived at. We haven't fully kind of come together and come to a solution, but there's been a strong voice for the citizens of the town. But that same kind of thing really needs to take place with regards to the process of the evolution of the police department, the process of how to relate with West Hartford and the destruction there, that kind of thing.
Yep. So more community involvement too. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think it's getting people heard, but first before they can be heard, they got to speak.
Right.
That type of thing. So Bethany, what's kind of some of your hopes for the town of Hartford?
Well, I think a lot of them are similar to what Simon said. I always laugh when I say that because of the game. Because we always are like, oh, Simon said this.
Simon said.
Right, I know. I think to elaborate on the last thing he said, that's something that I really am interested in, which is to provide some non-select board meeting opportunities for people to come together and talk about, even if it's, whether it's the villages talking amongst themselves or the villages talking to select board members, maybe outside of a meeting, or groups of people from each village coming together or something, talking about the things that are happening. This is something I mentioned the other night at the candidates' night, but last year the planning department had groups of people from each village talk, plan and have these meetings where they would look at what they'd like to see the village go in 10 years. And the reports are all online on the website under the planning department, and they're super easy to find, but they're really interesting and pretty forward-thinking, and some of them, particularly the one for West Hartford, is really different from how West Hartford looks now, and it's pretty inspiring to read that, people on the same page and want to make some important good changes that will really bring the community together. So it'd be nice to see that project specifically, maybe just see if we can actually get some things done that people had talked about, but also just beyond the Village Centers project, just taking the issues that people are interested in and just making them feel like they have the power to
Exactly.
because I think
Be a part
everyone,
of it. Be a
it's
part of
easy
it.
to,
Absolutely.
people talk to their neighbors and complain about something
Yeah.
or complain that the select board isn't doing something, but I think that we need to be fostering a sense of like really grassroots democracy, which is like, you know, why not just all get together over potluck or over a square dance or something and like talk about things. I could. I could make some pastries.
That would be awesome. I'd show up. I'd be the first one there.
Hey, sometimes
I'll
that's
let you
what
know.
it takes.
The biggest piece of cake.
I want you to know I make a mean tandoori.
What's that?
It's Indian barbecue.
Oh,
Really good.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to something like that too.
So I'd like to say that I am, I guess, perhaps a little more focused on getting some practical things actually done, and in terms of concrete things that the viewers of this program can go back and look at this program a year from now and say,
Right.
"Wow, that actually happened."
Yeah.
You know, so for example, I'm going to be blogging like mad if I'm on the select board and letting people know, you know, what's going on, what I'm thinking about, what documents, you know, I'm getting fed. Now, I would hope that this would be happening automatically on the town website, but one way or another, it's got to happen. And as issues come to the fore, where people are looking for information, they're going to get used to realizing that that information is actually out there. But if they go look for it, they're going to find it. They're going to find it relatively quickly. And there are some particular issues that I think we can bring up once we're on the select board. We can bring up effectively once we're on the select board. There's a difference between bringing something to the select board in the first 5 minutes of the meeting when somebody can stand up and say something publicly,
Yeah.
and the select board can sit there and go, interesting,
Yeah, right.
versus being on the select board and saying, you know, I really think we need to begin to pursue this, and you know, and here's some of the information, and kind of chip away at it until there's actually some momentum, and in so doing, we can begin to incorporate some of the ideas that Simon has been talking about and Bethany have been talking about to make functionally real toward a specific purpose. So, for example, one thing that I hear an awful lot of from people is that older people are being taxed out of their homes. And I would like to see Hartford become a national leader in figuring out a program whereby taxpayers who were in a particular situation where the abatement of a few $1,000s in property taxes would make a huge difference in their life, that we would be able to have an almost a type of reverse mortgage program where we wouldn't collect the taxes until after the estate was settled. And I would imagine that this could be drawn up so we would only have, you know, perhaps 50 homes in the process, and we have a huge war chest. We have $1.7 million in our rainy day fund. We're only going to have $1.2 million after we pay for the Irene repairs that are not otherwise covered by FEMA and so forth. But we have enough savings to fund that initially. I don't imagine that it would be more than, say, $50,000 in the first year. We would even maybe cap it. And then on a going forward basis, it would become a self-funding revolving type fund. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of the law, but if I'm on the select board and I say I want to pursue a local ordinance that would make it possible for us to do that, all kinds of resources are going to come into play. And I'm actually very well connected with the leadership in the Vermont state government, and because I've worked on their campaigns, I've been obviously friends with John Campbell, who's the head of the state senate.
He's the greatest guy, isn't
He's
he?
a terrific guy. But he and I have been buddies at Queechee since, you know, before he got elected.
You know, it was
So-
actually, I was going to tell you, it's actually John Campbell, Dick McCormick, and Alice Nicka
Nicka.
that a year after starting the program, they gave me a state resolution at the State House when I won the Jack Ray's Award for this program.
That's fantastic.
So they're very close to me, and anytime I want them to come and talk, you know, because this is what we need to do. We need to educate people.
Right.
And they do want to be educated, but sometimes it's hard to come forward and ask, hey, I don't know this, you
Right.
know, could you help me with this? I mean, you know, and having a learning disability, that was hard for me. So something like this is going to be much more useful for me to be able to sit and ask questions and understand where you're all coming from.
Right.
And I just think that's a wonderful opportunity for others to be able to do that too, to be able to ask questions and, you know.
So I think we could get some real headway. But the
Exactly.
process of doing this, getting people to come to a select board meeting and offer opinions about, you know, is this a good idea? Does it sound fair? You know, does it make sense? You know, and being able to talk to the folks up at the State House, I think I have an awful lot I can bring to the table with that, and it'll really help to have allies on the select board.
Yep.
And so, that's our ticket.
Yeah, right.
Linda, I want to just add something to that conversation,
Yeah.
if that's okay. And the two things that I've been thinking about lately are kind of town unity and vision. So this one question that I have is, where are we going as a town? And in other words, what is our vision for the future of Hartford?
Yeah.
And is it possible that we as a town could coalesce behind a specific vision about where we're going? And to me, then, in other words, what are we doing as citizens and, you know, citizens that are involved in progressing things forward? What exactly are we doing? What are we making out of this town together? I think that would have a really powerful impact on people's sense of pride. I live in Hartford. I'm proud of Hartford, and I'm proud of my involvement. And I'm working, you know, shoulder to shoulder with my neighbors, with my select board members, with the town governance to get this job done. I think that's so. It's questions of unity between the 5 villages, and vision kind of go together.
Would you say it's kind of like on the idea of people think about neighborhood watches as the neighbors watch out for the other neighbors, and maybe that's what we're talking about, each other watching out for each other plus helping each other. You know what I mean? It's a little different than neighborhood watch, but helping each other.
Isn't that the core Vermont value? Is is that personal independence, but an eye out for the community, a strong sense of community.
And it would feel like it was I don't want to say duty, but an honor, or let's get involved. You know, I'd like to say not procrastinate. I don't want to feel like I'm procrastinating, so I'm going to go and find out what I can do.
Well, procrastinating, I really want to talk a little bit about that.
Go ahead.
Really trying to
It's positive now.
But procrastination in this economic environment is an invitation to spend money unwisely.
Yep.
And we've been procrastinating about the municipal building, and we know that, you know, any day now the heating system could go, and the expense that would be incurred to make that right and have everybody out of the building for a while would be unplanned, and therefore it would chew away the money that we have in our rainy day fund. Much better that we move ahead with a scheduled renovation that deals with all the issues, and we would have cost certainty on that going into the future. So no more procrastination, Hartford.
That's right. But I think in general, I think everybody has a spot where they do procrastinate at something. It's real hard to just kind of get in there and say, yeah, I don't want to really do it, but I know I got to do it, but I don't really want to do it. But so on and so forth. So I think by taking that first step and just saying, yep, I'm going to do it right now. So obviously that's what you're saying about the municipal building. Just, been waiting too long. Now it's time to just, get your toes in there and get going.
Same way with the Barwood Arena, the ice hockey. The building of recreation.
Well, I don't know. When I played hockey, we called it the BOR. It's called something else.
Where is that?
It's behind the high school, so you kind of like diagonal behind the football field in the high school.
Oh.
And it's where it's the hockey rink. Now, it doesn't have the kind of locker room facilities that allows for the ice time to be maximized. And it doesn't have facilities that make it easy for a girls' team to get ready when a boys' team is playing. So the rink is not really attractive to the travel teams that spend a lot of money buying ice time and so forth. But it's a really good rink. It's great ice. It's got a terrific icing system. And it's very attractive to people who want to play high school hockey, particularly young women. The Hartford girls hockey team is going to be in the state championships on Saturday. And it's very attractive to tuition students. So fixing up that building would make the town more attractive to families thinking about whether or not they want to live here, make it more attractive to families wondering whether they should send their child here from another town on a tuition basis if that child's interested in hockey. And so the amount of additional monies that would come in from either of those decisions would more than pay for what we need to do at the Barwood Arena, not just in year one, but every single year after that. So in some ways, it's almost a no-brainer. And I don't quite understand why it's been difficult for us to get to that decision, to sell it to the community, or if not sell it, to involve them in the decision-making.
Yeah.
So anyway, no more procrastination, Hartford.
You heard it. So, you know what, this has really been really good for me. It's been very educational for me. I didn't really know much about you guys, but what I did read, I really liked it. And I'm really glad, Bethany, that you got a hold of me. And this is absolutely a good fit for Walking Through Life. Anything at all like this, or anything. I strive to say that I'll give anybody an opportunity to use their voice, which, you know, you've had some great people do that, you know, and I'm really encouraged that you guys came to do this, because people will see this and they will be able to react to it and maybe even get a hold of you guys with some questions, and, you know. So the date to vote is March 8th?
6th.
Ooh, 6th. Why did I think that was the town meeting?
That's the 9th.
Well, that's what the voting is. Town
Oh,
meeting
well,
day
this-
is March 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, so you vote. See, I've always done it absentee, so, but you vote and then you go to the town meeting at the same time?
The
See, I can't stay up past 6.
The voting is on March 6th. Because Hartford has a charter, it doesn't have a traditional town meeting on town meeting day in the sense of people gathering in a group and voting by the floor. Under our new charter, you vote on state town meeting day, which is the first Tuesday of March, and so this year it's March 6th. What Hartford does for the gathering is to have what it calls an annual meeting, and that follows 5 weeks after the voting. And that convenes the new boards, and it provides an opportunity to vote on voter petitioned warrants. It also has the town voting in person together by a show of hands on how much the school board and the select board members should be paid for going to each meeting. And that will all happen on Monday, April 9th. So, but the balloting for select board office to vote on the bonds, to vote on the questions for both the town and the school is Tuesday, March 6th. Could I add that it is true that you can go to the town clerk's office right now and you can walk in and you can vote. You don't have to wait until Tuesday. So you've got Thursday, Friday, and Monday to do that if that's more convenient for you. Otherwise, we'll all be out in front of Hartford High School
And
from
more.
7 in the
And
morning to 7 at night on Tuesday, March 6th.
There you go.
All right?
Well, I don't know if I'll make it up there, but, you know.
If you come early in the morning,
I
drink
might
coffee.
come Yeah, maybe I'll have somebody swing me up there. Or like I said, my husband and I do an absentee because it's easier, so you don't have to fight the crowds, you know.
Right.
Sure.
Plus, being disabled, you know, you've got to be careful when you're around. But anyway, I am so encouraged by all of this information that we had today. But I want to give each one of you an opportunity to look at the camera and speak to the voters themselves. So, would you like to start, Simon?
Okay, I'll start again. And I think what I want to do is in my final remarks is I just want to say a couple of sentences about why I am proud to run with these two people here. Okay, so first of all, the story of Bethany Fleischman as a native-born Hartford resident that went away and decided to come back to her community, to me, is exactly what needs to happen in small towns like Hartford all over America. It's the young people who were born and bred here making decisions that I want to return to my community. It's emblematic of something that really needs to happen. Then to turn around and say that I want to dedicate myself to contributing the time and the effort to the select board. Think about how inspiring that is to all of the youngsters living here. Think about what that does for the way in which the young people's sense of involvement in their community, to have that example, to know, oh, we have this has happened, and this is something that's. So Bethany is very, I just want to say, she won't say it or whatever, Bethany is an extremely smart and honest individual, and in what the ideas that she has spoken about and talked about have been pithy and right on the mark every time, because she doesn't open her mouth and just talk like expostulate about different kinds of fantasies the way some people might be prone to. So anyway, I know that if Bethany gets onto the select board, it's going to be a really positive thing for this committee. And FX won't say this. I want to talk about my other running mate here for just a second. Something that I have come to understand through conversations with other people who are attending the select board is that a lot of the thinking and a lot of the really sort of interesting and complex analysis of the ideas that are taking place on the select board are coming from FX, even though he's currently not a select board member. So in other words, we're talking about someone who has a level of commitment to the town and a level of motivation to make things better for the citizens of Hartford, which is a real resource.
Hartford.
Excuse me, Hartford.
I caught it, see?
Let's be clear about what town we're talking about. So it's a real resource, and to my mind, it's an absolute, it's a necessity, it's a no-brainer that these two need to get onto the select boards. I just wanted to just say a word about that, just to bring up some points. Okay, can I pass the baton on to the next?
You can, as long as you did correct yourself. It's not Hartford. We don't sell Fords, right? It's a Hartford.
No,
right?
no. I think that
you had Ford on the mind.
Residents should be, welcome to drive Chevy, Ford,
whatever they want.
Foreign cars, however it comes down.
That's right.
Thank you for the clarification.
That's right. I also wanted to ask you if I could have one of your fun meters.
Please,
okay.
We would be
absolutely.
I'd love that.
Absolutely.
You have to put it on though, right?
Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. I got a spot right here. I can put it on. Right.
Yeah, that's the two kind of requests. One is to put it on, and the other to make sure to keep that needle pointed all the way up to the red zone.
Yep.
There you go. Got it. Okay, Bethany, you want to give a message to the viewers?
Well, firstly, thank you, Simon. It's been an honor to run with you also. I think the main thing is that I want people to get out to vote, and I want them to get involved because local politics matter, and your voice can be heard, and you can make a difference. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true.
It really sound cheesy. It really doesn't.
Okay. So, it's really important. I mean, there's as FX mentioned, there's a few hundred people, 1,000 people voting, maybe more because it's a primary year, but your vote matters. So get out and vote.
That's right. FX?
Well, just to eliminate any confusion out there, the FX is for Francis Xavier. And you are welcome to call me FX when you run into me. I like that quite a bit. I'm really abashed at what Simon just said. That was a very generous and wonderful thing to hear. And all I can promise is that I really do have that kind of energy and commitment to our town. And I do believe that, like Dr. King said when I was a child, we may have come on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And I think that applies to our villages and the differences between the villages and the people who live in the villages and the great mix of people who are here in Hartford. And I really believe that it's time to bind the different communities of Hartford together. That is part and parcel of raising your hand and saying, I wish to be considered a Vermonter. The sense that we value our personal independence, but we also value our communities very highly. And so let's enjoy the process, and thank you.
Well, I want to thank each one of you for coming and being a part of Walking Through Life today, and I'm really encouraged that you got a hold of me, Bethany, and that we were able to work this out, and I just think this is a wonderful opportunity for the whole community to be educated and know that you guys are out there willing to talk and want to talk.
And it's been a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
I was going to ask one more thing, too, if you can. I know you guys have a website or something like that that people can go and view more about you. Do you want to tell us what that?
It's www.hartfordunited.org.
There you go.
And we're on Facebook too.
Oh, yeah, Facebook, too.
Yes, we are. That's and we're all on Facebook.
We are all on Facebook.
Facebook fans, we love you.
That's right. That's right.
And may we add, for those of you who see this show before Friday evening, Friday at 6 p.m. at the Tucker Box, the three of us will be there, and we are having a large group of supporters show up. And at 6:15, we're going to have an old-fashioned torchlight parade.
Nice.
Back in the old days.
Sounds like I'll have to be there.
Back in the old days,
Stay past my bedtime.
presidential campaigns would have big torchlight parades.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a torchlight parade.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
So White River Junction, first Friday.
Maybe I'll have to take a nap so I can go.
Absolutely.
Come on out.
Yeah, well, you know, I used to say it was because I'm getting old. You know, I'm 51 now, but no excuses. I don't have any excuses, really. So thanks again,
Thank
Simon,
you.
Bethany, and FX, and hopefully you'll come back and enjoy another round table, or just coming to, you have something that you want to speak about particularly. This would be a great way to get it out. Appreciate you guys coming, and we're going to sign off of Walking Through Life today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Walking through this life of mine, well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how to lose and how to choose. Walking through this life of mine, well, it's teaching me so many things,